After the close of World War II, American GIs came home to a world that had changed. New innovations crept into everyday life, new ideas, and new things in the skies. With the advent of the rocket and atomic power, suddenly the impossible seemed very close. Ideas that were once fiction were rapidly becoming reality. And with these new ideas, new technologies, and new power came visitors from other worlds, drawn to our planet by the emerging power of humanity. Alarmed governments quickly determined the nature of these alien visitors who flew across our skies with impunity. In 1947, in a sleepy ranch town of Roswell, New Mexico, the American Army Air Corps got its chance. On July 5th, during a violent electrical storm, an alien flying disc crashed on an isolated farm and was quickly recovered. The incident has become legend. What is less well known is the fate of the rescue mission dispatched to retrieve the downed alien crew. Even though little is known about the alien himself, today, through painstaking research, rare interviews, and a fistfight at the Library of Congress, we have a complete picture of the person closest to him. We have the first ever interviews with Betty Stiles Gray, the alien's wife.
I knew Mac Brazel. I worked for him. My first job. After the big storm of 47, there were Army fellas everywhere, all with guns, all making threats. We didn't think anything of it. Back then, if one of our boys in uniform shot you through the chest with his rifle, you didn't ask any questions. You wore that as a badge of honor, serving your country. We were patriotic people back then. Hell, we'd just won the war. We fought for this country. Me? Nah. I was interned in Montana. I'm a communist, but a patriotic communist. Anyway, after all those Army guys left, we see this other thing in the sky. We all just figured that it was part of the Project Mogul. One of those top secret programs I was always writing to Stalin about. And what do you think happened the next day? This little fella shows up at the ranch house. He's got a big head, no hair, and he wasn't wearing any clothes. He asked if we had seen any crashed spaceships around. We just laughed at him. Heck, he was naked. We got around to that. He didn't look too happy about it. We kind of felt sorry. Pointed him to the sheriff's station in town. Never heard from him again.
Sheriff George Wilcox interviewed the alien, but being under orders from the Army not to talk about the aliens, he does not report it. However, this KGFL archive recording, Frank Wellman from July 10th, let the aliens, Irwin Gray, tell the story.
And that was Buddy Clark with Linda. Now we have a special guest here in the studio this morning. The little fella says his name is Irwin Gray. He's looking for some friends.
That is correct, Edwin. One of our spaceships has crashed in this vicinity, and I'm here to retrieve the survivors before you primitive barbaric creatures try to eat or dissect them.
Well, isn't that something? Well, tell us, what planet are you from?
Serpiops.
Is that near Mars?
No.
You know you're not wearing any clothes?
It's a comfort issue.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming in and talking to us today, Irwin. And remember, everyone, if you see a crashed spaceship or any of Irwin's friends, you just call right in and let him know. And in a related story, whoever owns a large silver saucer-shaped spaceship had better get over to Jerry and Phil's Diner out on East 2nd Street. Ed's having it towed away right now. And now, Bing Crosby sings Our Things in Guacamole.
8 miles outside of Roswell, on Highway 380, sets Jerry and Phil's Diner.
Yeah, I remember that guy. Little, you know, really short. He was yelling and jumping up and down. I kind of felt bad for him. I told him to go home, and he just gave me those big, sad eyes. You know, I figured he could use a job and a place to stay. What a mistake. Worst cook I ever had. He made crazy foods, like he'd never seen food before. I put them on the menu, but no one would touch them. Chicken wings in this weird hot sauce, he called them buffalo wings. Tortilla chips with a crazy cheese sauce, I couldn't pronounce it. We just called them nachos. He almost put me out of business. He ran off with my waitress.
Waitress Betty Stiles, who was to change Irwin's life forever.
I came to New Mexico from Peoria. I was following my dream of becoming a waitress at a lonely roadside diner. All my dreams were coming true. Irwin? Phil hired him. Our last cook was hauled away as a Soviet agent. Irwin was a bother at first. He was too short to reach the counter with the plates, so I'd always have to go all the way into the kitchen. He was kind of helpless. He couldn't cook. In those days, that was pretty normal for a diner cook. I gave him a cookbook, but he couldn't read. But that was pretty normal for a diner cook, too. I had to teach him how to cook. It was slow going at first, but he caught on. He was, I don't know, so exotic. We got to know each other because we both lived in the storage shed behind the diner. It wasn't much, but he fixed it up almost as soon as he got there. He was very handy, always fixing things. Of course, they usually didn't work the same after he was done with them. And he was cheerful. He only got moody once, that first week after he got paid. We borrowed Jerry's car, and I drove him over to Dan's Tow and Salvage to get his spaceship back. That was an ugly day. Dan had sold the spaceship to the Army. If you go there now, it's the site of the Clovis Mystery Crater.
For a time, life took on the illusion of normalcy. Then it happened. A chance meeting. In May of 1949, long after the Roswell incident had been forgotten, George Koval, his car overheated, stopped at the diner. It was here that Irwin's life took a fateful turn. George Koval was the KGB's #1 agent in the United States. Assigned to his capture, Special Agent Vernon Fitch of the FBI.
We had intelligence that a spy ring was operating in New Mexico. White Sands, Alamogordo, Walker Air Force Base were all ripe targets for Stalin's atomic spies. No one today understands. It was a war. We were fighting for our way of life, fighting for freedom. I knew if I tapped enough phones, investigated enough citizens, and arrested enough suspects, I'd find my spy. They always subvert from within. They have help. I was right.
Agent Fitch arrived at the diner minutes later.
The one-way spy drop. Koval pulled into Jerry and Phil's Diner on Highway 380, then switched places with his contact, the cook. His disguise was good enough to fool a casual observer. He even made himself appear about 2 feet shorter. Being a trained agent, I wasn't fooled for a minute. While the decoy drove his car away to the White Sands missile testing range, I waited.
Now under federal surveillance, Irwin felt the net closing in on him.
One day, this guy was hanging around. No one knew who he was. And then one day, Irwin was packing. It was 1949. The Soviet Union had just detonated their first atomic bomb. It seemed like the world was so full of possibilities. I had to go with him. We had been fixing up Jerry's old car. It ran.
All of a sudden, he's buying Jerry's old car. Why not? I don't know what he did to make it run. My place is labeled a haven for commie spies. No one would come in. I had to sell. I opened a new place in town. Nicer. Phil Popeil's Steakhouse. My son Ron cleaned out all of the gadgets Irwin had built. I think he patented some of them. He's doing pretty good.
I didn't have much choice. The dine was clearly a haven for communist agents. We had to quarantine the area. My spy, he was calling himself Irwin, had taken off with his contact, the waitress, in an old car. Her cover name was Betty Stiles. He must have been in a hurry. They were doing about 300 miles an hour on Route 70. I couldn't keep up, but they certainly left a trail I could follow, heading straight for Las Vegas.